Hi everyone, welcome to our video on translating a long word problem. It's our last one, or at least the last one that I have, so if you do have questions still, you could just let me know. But in these word problems, make sure to always read it slowly and carefully, read it multiple times as needed, and then my strategy will be to look at the question to kind of get it started. All right, so let's read it slowly first. So it says, Jimmy can invest no more than $120,000 in two accounts. Fund A earns 4% interest per year and Fund B earns 5% interest per year. Jimmy wants to invest at least twice as much in Fund A as Fund B. How much should Jimmy invest in each fund in order to maximize his annual return from these accounts? All right, so that's where I'm going to start. So read it again as needed, but this is where I like to get these word problems going. It says, how much should Jimmy invest in each fund? Eyeball and above, I can see there's two funds. And then the how much is talking about a dollar amount that we're trying to figure out. So we're going to let X represent the dollar amount that would go into Fund A. And then we'll let Y be the dollar amount that would go into Fund B. So that way we have our X and Y ready to go. And then in these problems, we'll also figure out, hey, there will be another variable that's important to us. And it's right here in this problem. They're talking about in order to maximize his annual return. So we don't know what that return is. So if we don't know what something is, we could always label it as a variable. So on this, I'm going to use R is the return. All right, but now we can go back and figure out how to break down each of these individual statements. So I'm using blue here. It says Jimmy can invest no more than $120,000 in two accounts. So they use a little bit different phrase. They say no more than. All right, that's okay. Let's figure out what they got. So I'm just going to label this as like I'm just going to call it one invest. Okay, so just like the first line, invest. This is something important to us. And it says no more than 120,000. So I know the 120,000 is to the right. This is a dollar amount. Okay, so note that this is dollar amount. So this is in dollars. And so are my variables. My variables are already in dollars as well. So I believe the left we could also fill in and then figure out the inequality afterwards. Okay, so X plus Y, some dollar amount plus some dollar amount, needs to be less than or equal to or greater than or equal to $120,000. All right, and then now let's figure out what no more than is. Okay, so no more than 120,000. So that's stating $120,000 is the maximum, so no more than that. So this is saying this here should be the biggest it can possibly be. So we will use less than or equal to show the $120,000 is the most. Okay, so no more than. And then that makes, let's see if it sort of makes sense with our own made-up numbers. If we say, hey, how about X plus Y is $100,000? So no more than, so $100,000 is less than $120,000. That can kind of be a way to sort of check to make sure the inequality is fitting. Okay, because in words, I think we could figure it out, and we just want to make sure that the math symbols work the same way. All right, so that was our number one line for investment. And then the second line, I'm doing in purple. It says Fund A earns 4% interest per year, and Fund B earns 5% interest per year. So I'm tackling this problem using my colors in a different way. In the previous problems, I usually used like X was all blue stuff and Y was all purple stuff. Okay, so you could do things differently, however way you want to do it is fine. All right, but with this line, so this is talking about the interest earned, and then that's all I see about interest throughout the rest of this problem. So this interest stuff is what's helping with the return. So that will involve the capital R. So let's move on. We'll come back to that. And let's use green for this last line. So it says Jimmy wants to invest at least twice as much in Fund A as Fund B. Okay, so we do see at least. All right, and when we had at least in other problems, it was usually, we had like at least, okay, so, and let's just go ahead and write out how it was. It usually was something like this, but the number was instantly given. So like, for example, it would have been, say, like at least 500 would mean we have something greater than or equal to 500. Okay, so the number was right away. Here, it's not a number, it's a statement. So at least twice as much in Fund A as Fund B. While this can still help, we know twice is times 2. So twice as much in Fund A as Fund B. So from this, we can see that A is more, twice as much in Fund A. So more money's going into A. Let's say that as well. And that can help also figure out how to break down the statements. All right, but what I like to do with this, so I think it's easier if we can set it up to be like this, where the number is just by itself, or just a single thing is to the right instead of lots of stuff to the right of it. So I want to have something simpler, and so I'm gonna rewrite that. So I will say, just to organize, here's the at least portion. But one very quick way to reorganize this is to just put the however way it's written right here with the Fund A and Fund B, and put whatever's first kind of right at the start of the statement. So the way that I am going to rewrite this, so that at least statement is going to become, so I'm just going to say Fund A is at least twice, is at least twice Fund B. So I'm just kind of moving that thing that they wrote about first to B first. So I'm moving it to the left of the at least statement. And the reason that I do that is because, well, then I can kind of use our strategy from our other problems when we saw at least. So kind of like the at least some random number. And I could break down my variables and say, hey, Fund A is our variable X. At least is greater than or equal to. And then twice means 2 times Fund B, which is Y. Okay, so there we go. So we've got X is greater than or equal to 2Y. All right, and so this is maybe what you might not have thought it was, because you see twice Fund A, you might say, hey, put the 2 and X together, but that actually doesn't give us the correct statement. This is our correct statement. So if and we want there to be more money into Fund A. So for instance, and if we're talking about at least twice as much, say for instance, so here's Y is 50. If X is more and is at least twice as much, then 100 would be its minimum. And notice if we do that substitution into this inequality, it matches 2 times 50 and then 100 on the left. So there we go. So that's why I like to rewrite the statement, and I'm just going to highlight it by just moving that Fund A portion first. So it's just like, okay, so now it's a little messy, but I'm just going to kind of do a pink arrow and just say, hey, just kind of throw it there first. Fund A at least twice as Fund B. Okay, so Fund A is at least twice Fund B. So I'm just kind of rewriting it, and then that way I think it's easier to translate. Okay, so it is now set up correctly. And then the last thing we've got, well, kind of back to the purple, it talked about the return. And, well, these interest amounts are where the return would come from. So we've got our return. We've got, and because there's not any talk about at least or at most in the interest portions, that's where we do our equation, R equals. And then from there, we would attach the coefficients to our respective variables. So Fund A earns 4% interest per year. Now, percentages, let's add one other thing. Percentages usually get converted to decimals in these types of problems. So percentage, let's say percentage rates, these interest rates, percentage rates should be converted to decimals. And we could do that because 4%. So that's it in words. Per is division. Cent, I'm probably saying it wrong, but it like this was created by the French, means 100. So this is 4 per 100, and then from there, you could also just say, hey, move the decimal over 2 to the left, and that works as well. So we'd have 0.04 and attach the X to it, and then plus Fund B earns 5%, 0.05, and attach the Y to it. Okay, and then now I kind of look back. So this, I didn't highlight everything like I've done on the other problems, but kind of going through, the underline in blue is ready, the underline in purple is now ready, and the underline in green from that statement is now ready. And then after that would be answering the questions that are underlined in the black ink. Okay, so and I'm just boxing, so it's a weird looking box, but this is our translation for this word problem to use our math symbols. Okay, so that's that. So we do have it down. If you do have questions, please let me know. Otherwise, our next videos are going to be solving these types of things. All right, and that method, and it's an interesting method that we'll look at, but that's for later. So anyway, take a break, and I will see you again soon. Thanks for watching, and if you have questions, let me know.